Hello, everyone. It's Leslie Flowers, Trailblazer for Women in Business, and welcome back to Awakening Your Infinite Potential Telesummit. And today I am so excited that we have Aimee Chandler with us. Just wait until you get a load of her awakening experience. Say, hey, Aimee.
Hey, everyone. So happy to be here, Leslie. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So Aimee has been a wellness professional for over 25 years, helping hundreds of women create healthier lifestyles through exercise, fundamental nutrition, stress management, and my favorite, self-appreciation. She has a master's degree in exercise science and holds numerous certifications in exercise and coaching. Yet more importantly, she has a life story which is likely similar to yours if you're here and listening in. So now picture Aimee was 47, a mom of two young kids, working a full-time job, starting her own business, and already in menopause, fighting the effects of hormonal changes on a daily basis by exercising and restricting calories to maintain her ideal body weight wasn't working anymore. And she knew it was time to make a lifestyle change. By letting go of her all or nothing attitude and focusing on progress over perfection, Aimee was finally able to reach her goals and actually enjoy the journey of healthy living instead of feeling like it was a chore. Boy, I really like that. She has taken her knowledge and experience to the online world to help even more women find health, happiness, and a body they love no matter how busy they are. She diagnosed herself as a busy syndrome sufferer. She believes that slowing down and being kind to yourself has an emotional and physical benefit that is the key to overall wellness. Wow. Welcome, Aimee.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are welcome. And let's get right into it if we can. So you had quite a journey. Tell us about where you were and then your awakening of your own infinite potential as regards health and wellness and being in love with your body. Please.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So, one of the reasons why I'm so excited to be here is because my awakening moment is not only the source of my own personal development, but it's actually the source of my professional development and led me to where I am today in terms of helping other busy women find ways to be healthy without having to make these huge, significant changes in their lifestyle. So a couple of years ago, I was in my mid-40s, and like you had said, I was a wife, a mother of two young kids. I was working full-time in a high-level sales career. I was also teaching fitness classes and personal training clients, and then, of course, volunteering for 50 million different things in my community and my kids' community. So like I said, I had that busy syndrome going on. I was very focused on eating well and exercising regularly because that's what I'm trained in. And I had been doing this for many years of my life. Plus, becoming a mom made me want to set an even better example for my kids. But in reality, I was really super stressed, trying to balance out family and work time, and then me time, giving back to myself, which I knew was important, but was just so hard to fit in. And I got to a point where I just felt like there had to be a better way of living. So for several years, I had this back of the mind nagging feeling that for the amount of effort I was putting into eating healthy and exercising, over-exercising, working out so many hours during the week, I really should be getting better results. I do have to say, and I'll be totally honest here, that it wasn't like I was overweight or I was suffering from a major health issue, which a lot of women are going through, whether it's chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia or, busy syndrome stress. It wasn't that I had anything significant. But I think everyone would agree. You just know when you're not in that right place physically or mentally, and you just know it could be better. And that's where I was. I was spending so much time and energy exercising harder and longer and thinking that what had worked in my 20s and 30s was what was going to get me there, even if I had to do more of it. But unfortunately, it wasn't working. I also was in a little bit of denial, and I think a lot of women can relate to this. I was using my commitment to exercise as kind of my excuse for being able to still indulge in treats and having that glass of wine several nights a week. Life was so busy and stressful, I would rationalize that, oh, you know what, I earned this, I deserve this because I powered through and I worked so hard to get through this crazy week. So, you know what? I can treat myself. I can do this. Which you can to some degree, but then there's that line you cross and it's just, counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody out there follows Strength Finders or any of those personality profile tests out there, I am an activator by nature. And so I just got to that point I was really sick of just thinking about it and over analyzing it and going over it and over it. And I said, you've just got to do something about this. So I started to dive back into what I was trained in my master's program. And I got deep into the organizations, the wellness organizations that I belong to really try and figure out how I could reach my full potential and finally maximize the results for all the effort I was putting into my healthy lifestyle and healthy living.
So let me ask you a question here.
Yeah.
So when you got to the point where like, okay, I'm done with this, was there an actual experience or incident where like it was like this breakthrough moment where you thought, oh, there's something really disconnected and wrong here? Was that the case for you, Aimee?
It was, and it's kind of coming in the story. I have to admit that my roommate from college, who is amazing in terms of mindset work, she's a life coach. We went away for a weekend together, kind of in an industry convention, and it was really her spending time with her for a whole weekend and really understanding, having somebody else appreciate me for who I was, that turned it around for me and made me think like, why am I so hard on myself? I needed somebody else to kind of reflect it back onto me to make me realize that if I could change my mindset, the world was my oyster. And so going into that, I started doing all this research, and as I got deeper into understanding the physiological changes that happen to women after 40, going into perimenopause, going into menopause, I was in menopause at a young age. I learned about those changes, but then I also really found so much information out there on how important mindset is in terms of stress reduction, changing your behaviors, and being able to reach your goals. And that's truly where my awakening began. My girlfriend, my life coach girlfriend, was like kind of the one who brought it to my attention. And then as I dove into researching it, everything kind of blossomed. This book for me, Mindset by Carol Dweck, I'm sure a lot of people know that book, was it. I started reading it, and, light bulbs, flashes would just go off. And I was like, wow, this is some deep-seated stuff that I have. And now's my time to kind of turn that around.
So you, once you had this awakening, if you will, when you were, and I love it that you were with someone else. It's so important people show up and opportunities, not by
Mhm.
coincidence, but they're
Right.
there to be your guide. Just like Aimee may well be your guide as the listener in
Yep.
this journey. And I really love that. Tell me, what is mindset? For those people out there that we hear it all the time,
Mhm.
what is it about mindset that is so vital? Because the eating and the exercising seems pretty simple, right? I mean, obviously, eat well and exercise.
Right.
But mindset, can you help the listeners understand what it is and how a shift occurs and what the result is?
Yes.
Thank you.
So you're absolutely right. There is infinite amounts of information out there, whether it's in a magazine, on a TV show, on the news, online, that is available to us women about how to eat healthy and how to exercise. What I have found through my coaching and from my own personal experience is, yes, you do have to find what works for you. And there are many options that you can try, but ultimately, you you can only continue to be successful if you have the right mindset for consistency in moderation. And that's not something you can get from an exercise program or from nutrition. That's here. That's setting yourself up in a good place. That's treating yourself well. That's being kind to yourself. I have a motto that I kind of put out there to my clients. There's no such thing as a good or a bad choice. It's a good, better, or a best choice. Because when we take away that negative word, it just opens up those possibilities and it allows us to explore what works well for us without having to feel like we were successful or we failed. Because as you know, there's really no such thing as failure. A failure is just that opportunity to learn and grow.
Oh, absolutely. I love that, Aimee. And, mindset is, for me, the way you look at the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the awakening, and you can tell me if this is so, the awakening that we experience when we actually get a glimpse that we do have infinite potential, right? It's that insight that we have that is powerful, and
Mm-hmm.
it causes us to look at life a different way. And so
Yes.
perhaps a positive is, this is how you help your clients to maintain and to deliver to yourself positive points of view
Mm-hmm.
so that you feel really good and have a high vibration and life is joyful.
Yes.
Is that part of the work you do?
I was suffering from, I felt like I was born, and I know this is probably not true, but I just truly felt I was born with an all or nothing attitude about achievement and reaching success in life. It's probably more learned behavior than it is that you're something you're born with.
Right.
And for a lot of my life, it served me really well. It allowed me to reach some successes in my life and achieve things that I was looking for. But as I started to mature and raise children and notice certain behaviors from them,
Yeah.
as I educated myself in mindset, I realized that this all or nothing attitude was totally holding me back, especially when it came to my wellness. I had always, like since I was 25, I had always used exercise as my way of handling my weight management. I was not consistent. I did not live in moderation. I would say like, oh, I could never diet. Like my girlfriend, I'd go away for the weekend and my girlfriends would all be talking about South Beach or Atkins or whatever. And I would automatically in my head be saying, nope, nope, nope. Like I will never do that. I don't have the kind of willpower they have. If I can't be great at it, I'm not doing it at all. And it was that all or nothing attitude that was not allowing me to just explore.
Yeah.
So after like 20 years of this attitude, I finally realized it just wasn't serving me. And I needed to really start to think about progress over perfection. And that's really what I help my clients to understand from that mindset perspective. it's not about being perfect all the time. It's about watching yourself start at point A and move at your pace, nobody else's pace, but your pace, to the next step in your journey, and the next step and the next step. And so for me, my first step when I had that awakening and really realized that this all or nothing attitude was holding me back was I embraced kind of like a trial and error approach to life, and especially in my my wellness, healthy lifestyle living. I had to admit that my fear of being perfect is still strong. I'm not saying that I'm totally over that. It's still a work in progress for me. But I started, making these changes in my eating and exercise. And, I finally got that confidence that I had the ability to awaken that potential in myself. And really, it's all about how you feel inside about yourself. It's not about others. It's finding that inner light that makes you say, you know what? I can do this. There's more to life. Or why am I holding back from allowing myself to experience something new and different? I had an opportunity, a naturopath that I was introduced to. I started following him online, like many people do. And one day he sent an email out and he wrote all about life being a series of trial and error events. And it was right at the time when I was like kind of embracing this myself. And I was so intrigued. And what hit home to me was all the examples that he referred to, which is trial and error. And I'm sure you would agree, Leslie, what you choose to major in college, choosing your career, raising children. There's no manual. There's no instruction book. It's all trial and error. You try something, you see if it works, you see if you get results, if there's a benefit. If you don't, you make a decision to change and move on. And so for me, figuring out the nutrition and exercise routine that fit my lifestyle and my body type was the key. And that's what I really tried to help other women figure it out. We see these things all over the news, like, there's a blood type diet, and there's the high carb, low fat diet, or the reverse, the high fat, low carb. Oh, this one worked for me, that one. What works for your neighbor or your sister or your friend down the street might not work for you. And you've got to be able to have the mindset strategies and the basic, scientific information to be able to then go forward and use that trial and error method to figure out what does work for you in your lifestyle.
I love that, Aimee. So I'm curious now, you had said something early on about that exercising more and more wasn't working. So am I correct in what I'm hearing is that the way you help people is a healthy combination of all of that? In other words,
Yes.
It's work in mindset and exercise and healthy eating, and it's like a three-legged stool, sort of. Is that right?
Yeah.
So the stool doesn't work if you're only doing. So that's what happened with you, right? All of a sudden, you got that third leg.
Yeah.
Right?
So I had the exercise and the nutrition there.
Right.
The mindset was a little skewed. I had to kind of turn. So what I found was when I embraced this change, I was really quiet about it. I was kind of like, I'm not going to really announce to the world that I'm doing anything. I'm just going to subtly make some changes because I still was in a little bit of fear of failure. I didn't want to put it out there that I was doing something different and not be successful. I had to get over that. And so when I started to make these small tweaks, I didn't want to overwhelm myself with a total overhaul. And that's what I find so many of my clients can't do. They don't have the time or the energy to shop differently and cook differently and exercise differently. They need something that's more tangible and realistic. So in terms of my eating, I just made some simple changes, like cutting out processed foods, adding in more protein, healthy fats, veggie-based carbs to really fill me up from meal to meal. And it was the kind of food that I needed to fuel my exercise. So no food was off limits. They were just lower on the priority scale. So I made more of an effort to fill up on the good stuff first, to then determine whether or not, okay, every once in a while I'll have that cookie or that glass of wine, as opposed to having that be the first thing I thought about. And then from my exercise perspective, I scientifically learned that my hardcore approach to exercise was actually increasing my cortisol levels. And cortisol is our stress hormone that is responsible for holding on to body fat, especially around the midsection. You see many, many women who go to the gym every day, 2 hours a day. They've got smaller arms and legs, but over time, they just continue to build around that middle section of their body, and they can't figure out why they can't lose the weight there. They're eating well, they're exercising all the time, and they're so frustrated and kind of like done. They don't even know what to do. They're exhausted, they're hungry all the time, and they can't lose that weight. And that was the key for me. As soon as I realized I was over exercising and I cut back and walked more, really just pure leisure walking, no power walking, just out there for the appreciation of nature, to de-stress, literally the body fat just burnt right off. And I couldn't believe it, because I had more time in my day to spend with my family, to be working on my work if I wanted to, my business that I was trying to start. I was spending less time exercising, more time doing things that I wanted to do. My stress levels came down, and it was just such a change in life for me.
But I think that what's so important here is there's two really interesting things here. So once you had your awakening and you realized, look, there's just got to be something else, you took very simple, specific steps. It isn't like you opened up this world. You began to do some research, and you began to do some reading and came across a book. Now, in the same light, I know that you have a super guide that you're giving away to the listeners. So be sure you get this, which is a guide to stop over exercising and to create those new habits, and most of all, to stop being so hard on ourselves. So tell us a little bit about that and why we can use that to have that be our first step toward our awakening, moving toward our having that beautiful balance of health, mindset, and wellness.
So when I made those changes and I started to get results, I had not told anybody what I was doing. And then all of a sudden, my clients, my family, my friends were like, wait a second, what's going on here? You got to give me the secret. Because we women, we all want to share those secrets, right? So I realized in talking about what I was doing, it was kind of going over people's heads, because so many women think that it has to be this dramatic change in their life. And so when I simplified it and created this guide, I named it what I named it because I feel like there are so many women out there who are stuck in that old school mentality of I got to work out harder and longer, and this is the other thing, and I'm going to punish myself when I do cheat. And then they wake up the next day after maybe having pizza and wine or going out for burgers with their family. And then the next day they wake up and they're like, oh my God, what have I done? I've got to spend even more time exercising because I did something bad last night. When in reality, that's actually making it worse and making their body want to hold on to that. So this guide is really the 4 strategies that I used.
Good.
And that what I coach all my clients on in terms of the balance between nutrition, exercise, and mindset. And it's lean, because we're trying to get lean, and it stands for lift weights, eat more protein, alleviate stress, and non-negotiables, because I truly do not believe in deprivation diets. And I believe that all food groups can be a part of your daily life. And so I have a non-negotiables. And that's why I think that my approach is a little bit different than a lot of health coaches. You'll see a lot of programs out there where they're very effective, but because they're so restrictive in terms of no sugar, no caffeine, no carbs, no fat, whatever it is, anybody can do that kind of a program. And the same thing with exercise, specific strict exercise. Anybody can prescribe to that for 21 days or 30 days. They can get results. But then what happens after that? Yeah. We go into it with a mindset that this is temporary. Oh, I'm just going to do this for 30 days. I can do anything for 30 days, no matter how restrictive it is. And then we get to the end of those 30 days, and what happens? We go right back to our old ways.
That's right. So the big thing here that I got from what you're doing is that actually pushing ourselves to diet more and exercise more increases stress. So it actually works against the effects that you're looking for. Now, everyone, this has been the most amazing, illuminating presentation, and I want you to consider downloading her the 4 strategies and her guide, because Aimee knows what she's talking about when it comes to this. I'm very excited. Aimee, I want to thank you so much for making time for us and sharing what that awakening was like for you and what you did simply to begin moving toward your infinite potential.
Thank you, Leslie.
I'm so glad you were here. It's such a delight. So everyone, thank you so much for listening in, and we'll see you during the next presentation. Have a lovely day.